to the Michigan Strategic Fund Board, as well as to the members of the public who are interested in participating in these proceedings. With that, we will move to the public comment portion. I want to remind the public that there is a 3-minute time limit to all public comments. And this 3-minute time limit will be enforced. And I think there is a digital clock somewhere present. Okay, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Caitlin Wilcox to explain further instructions.
Thanks, Quentin. So we have some folks in the room here. We'll start with those in the room first. There's a microphone right on this table, so we can just go in order.
I guess I'm going first. Good morning. My name is Marjorie Steele. I'm a resident of Mecosta County in Big Rapids. I am here to ask this board for the resignation of Randy Thalen. As the president and CEO of The Right Place, an organization which receives grant funding from this organization, the Michigan Strategic Fund, Mr. Thalen's place here on the MSF board presents a clear conflict of interest. It's my understanding that it's unprecedented for an economic developer to be appointed to the MSF board. And I think it's no accident that this appointment was made by the very same governor who brought Goshen to my community. A governor, for the record again, who I voted for twice, in case there's any confusion about my political alliances. But this conflict of interest is not the only reason I call for Mr. Thalen's resignation today. In my community's ongoing fight to get the most basic of answers about the Goshen EV megasite's proposed development, atop wetlands and a vulnerable aquifer, The Right Place has been most obtuse. To this day, I have been provided no date for when we can expect an environmental impact study. Instead, we are offered permits to be determined by the clearly captured eagle in lieu of an EIS, and are offered the consolation that The Right Place will make Goshen promise to perform an EIS as the site is being built or after. One of Mr. Thalen's deflections has been that The Right Place can't benchmark what such an EIS would look like. He seems to be under the impression that because due diligence is not being performed by other economic developers in these EV megasites, he is also absolved of the responsibility. But I am here to assert to this board today that this is unacceptable. Mr. Thalen is not absolved of his responsibility, and his presence on this board carries with it the stench of ignorance and corruption. Under no circumstance will I support the Goshen project, nor any development project, in breaking ground without an environmental impact study. Nor will I be content with an entire industry unilaterally deciding to set a new low standard for skipping due diligence which is still required for every other industry down to residents and small agriculturalists. Rules for us, but not for you. I ask Mr. Thalen to resign today and for the MSF board to insist that the MEDC rescind its 2022 to 2023 site selection plan until it can be replaced with citizen stakeholder-led strategies. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Still, go ahead. Caitlin?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Sharp. I was raised in Paris, Michigan, and I'm here to say that I am appalled at the way that we are taking care of our waters in this situation with Goshen, and the lack of transparency that it involves taking away farmland from our beautiful community. There's a threat of bringing a city into our community, 5-lane roads, huge complex that is completely unacceptable. We don't like its ties to the Communist Party of China. And we are absolutely appalled for the future of our children that have no way of defending themselves other than through them, us. And it's time for everyone to slow down with these projects across Michigan and across our nation and take into consideration the future of our freedoms that are being stripped from us because they won't even let us vote in our own community. We find out about it a few years after they've already started the program. Marshall has had farms obliterated. They're moving around dirt, and I don't even think they're legally, able to go forward. It's just optics for Michigan to accept it. And with us, we're grassroots, we're connecting with the communities. You have to know this is unacceptable and it's threatening our waters. So for me, I would like everything tabled and restructured for the environment. You need to stand up to what this would do to the environment. It's not a political thing. This is a bipartisan situation. We are grouping together in this state and across the nation to let everyone know we do not want this in our community. I want my community to stay rural, small town, country life. Okay? So definitely need to regroup and table on this. For the future of our children, it's unacceptable. We don't want 15-minute cities. We don't want a huge city in our community. And we don't want a huge, ugly plant that's taking over trout streams and watershed that is beautiful. We have tourists that come up there and enjoy vacations in our small community. It won't be like that anymore. Who wants to come there when there's a threat to our watershed? The water won't be safe. It won't be safe for us to live there. It won't be safe to raise farm animals there anymore. Okay? We don't want it. And we feel like this needs to be handled before you move any further forward with anything. It needs to be stopped and tabled and checked out because there's a lot of people in the community upset across the state as well. Okay? You need to think of the citizens of this state and country and what they're saying. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to talk to somebody, and I would do that. I would like to be able to look them in the eye and be able to shake their hand, whether I agree with them or not. So I will afford that to you, which I have not been given here today. I am Larry Finkbeiner. I'm also known as Larry Wounded Bear. I am from Green Township. I'm an organic vegetable farmer in Green Township. I chose to move there from where I came from after I left the Army. This is an issue on multiple levels, but I believe a lot of it boils down to a couple of different things. When I spoke with Sarah Anthony with the Senate, she told me that the citizens of Mecosta County do not have the right to go ahead and ignore or refuse new jobs. The fact is we are not the industrial Southeast. We are pure Michigan. We are in the North. We chose to live there. I have worked $100,000 a year jobs. I have multiple degrees. If I chose to make money, I would be elsewhere. I chose the lifestyle, and so did many, many of us. Certain people lied when they said that they had the community support. Oh, we have 96% support in the community for Goshen. 6 people were polled. That's it. When she says we have grassroots, we have an organization that is formed that is 600 strong and growing out of a community of 2,000. Every human has the right to self-determination. Every community, every country, every state has the right to self-determination. This is part of our Constitution. This is part of the United Nations Charter. This is part of the concept of a township where the locals deal with local issues. We do not want this. We simply asked at the beginning that our township hold a real census as to who supported this and who didn't. And it was refused 3 times. Because if my community members said that as majority they wanted it, I wouldn't be here. I've been asked to come here. We had other townships do the polling so that it was unbiased. 91% against this project. Over 50% of the population polled. Those that lied to the Senate and lied to you people are being recalled. Every single one of them. We will go ahead and we will challenge the zoning. We already have 3 times the numbers required for the referendum. This is a losing bet, ladies and gentlemen. 5 times I've worked or tried to work with MEDC to get local business in our community. And not once did MEDC bother to call us back. When we had small companies wanting to expand or small companies wanting to start, we are
Excuse me,
being
sir, can you
ignored.
finish in 10 seconds, please?
I will thank you, sir, for your politeness. And I will thank you, people sitting here. But it is time to wake up because we have, and we are all joining together, and we will fight it.
Thank you, sir. Caitlin?
Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to make public comment?
Thank you for your time. My name is Kyle DeBreeze. Actually come here representing Big Rapids, but also folks from Marshall, Mundy Township, Eagle Township, Detroit. We're all very upset about this expansion, mega sites throughout the state. I'd like to draw attention to the center of our flag and to the gentleman standing on a green peninsula surrounded by water. Over top of his head, it says, "I will defend." This is first and foremost. This is the heart of Michigan. We're gonna defend the land. We're gonna defend the water. Not this obsession over jobs and technology and shoving this into a small area. Not just small areas. What they're doing in Detroit is blowing my mind. Honestly, this has expanded so much of our view of what's happening in the government inside of Michigan right now. So many of us. I just can't stop getting the quote from John Quincy Adams out of my head from when Michigan was trying to form as a state and Ohio was blocking us back in the early 1800s, 1836, I think. The Ohio Strip debate. John Quincy Adams was fighting at the time so hard in the Senate for Michigan's right to form as a state. And just like now, he said something to the effect, forgive me if I get a word wrong here, was never have I seen an issue where so many were on the side of right and all the power was on the side of wrong. And this is where we sit again. All these people trying to defend their water and their land, and the people with power and money sitting in the cities, shoving it down their throats. Beg you to reconsider, to stop funding these projects and to pull back what's already in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Caitlin?
Just making sure there's no one else in the room for public comment? Okay. For those who have joined virtually, if you have a public comment, can you unmute at this time? And then I will go in order of those who are unmuted. And you can do that if you're dialed in on your phone by pressing *6, or you can press the little microphone. Okay, I see Marcy Vanderwall. Marcy, do you have a public comment? Can't hear you if you do. You there? Then any others on the line wishing to make public comment? All right.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, there, I can, yes.
Yes, my name is Rebecca Glopfelty. I've spoken for the last 3 months regarding the mega sites most specifically. And so I'm going to speak about that again. I see that you have public comments on the agenda items. I hope that you will seek more transparency instead of less transparency in this process. However, I can't really imagine there being less transparency. You know, we spoke last month. I looked at the minutes, and public comments resulted in saying that there was public comment taken. The public comments were not included. There were no minutes saying that there was 2 hours of public comments. And I don't believe that there were any attachments for the public comments. So the writing's on the wall. It looks like you're becoming less transparent. You are a body, a board that's appointed by the governor. You are accountable to residents of the state of Michigan. So I ask you to be more transparent. What you are only hurting yourselves. As you know, there's a growing body of people across the state who never even knew what the MEDC was 3 months ago. And now it's common knowledge what the MEDC is. So you're hurting your own selves by your behavior. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Glotfelty. Are there any others on the line wishing to make public comment?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, Brandy Sweet. And I would like to make a comment.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, I'm speaking on behalf of all these mega sites, mainly Goshen. There has been no transparency given to our community, no meaningful or equitable treatment. We have pretty much just had enough, as you can see from the people sitting in there and the people that have been calling this office repetitively. Randy Thielen that is online right now, he cannot respond to messages. He cannot give people, where is our EISs? Where's the environmental impact statements? We want to know what we are going to have to live next to. We want to know what air we are going to be forced to be breathing. We have the Muskegon River right here, less than a mile from it, with no environmental impact report is just outrageous. The smallest things have those, and we get to see absolutely nothing. We get the spokesperson for Goshen to come to our community and tell us they're Chuck Thielen, Randy Thielen's cousin. He comes to our township meeting and tells us these are 100% non-toxic, all these chemicals, this factory, that is not true. You speak to somebody at EPA, you speak to somebody in Eagle, that is not true. Why would anybody allow this man to come here and purposely, maliciously mislead and lie to an entire community because we are a rural area and you guys think that we're ignorant and we deserve this? No, we're not. Just like Larry said in there, we choose this life. If we want more, we would have more, but we don't want your technology. We don't want the best phone. We don't want that. We want our environment clean. We want our family, and we want to live our life the way we choose, not the way you guys want to come in and deem what's fit and what's best for us. That's not the choice here. That's not going to work. And you guys need to open your eyes, you big city slickers, and take a look around and keep it in your area. If it's about the money and the profit and the economic development, take it to where it's wanted, because it's not wanted here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sweet. Are there any others online wishing to make public comment? All right, Quentin, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Thanks to those that did participate in the public comment period. Caitlin, are there any board communications at this time?
The board received several communications that were shared yesterday afternoon, June 26th.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. We'll now go to subcommittee reports. We'll begin with the Finance and Investment Subcommittee. Chair Hutchison, are there any readouts from the Finance and Investment Subcommittee meeting you would like to share?
No readouts at this point in time, Chairman Messer. We had discussions, but nothing that required approval or vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'll now move to the Policy and Planning Subcommittee. We'll go to Chairwoman Warner. Ms. Warner, are there any readouts from the Policy and Planning Subcommittee meeting you would like to share? I'm sorry, who? Is there somebody else who will? Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Holing, appreciate that. We will now move to board protocol for voice votes. To ensure continuity within this hybrid meeting setting, I would like to ask you to identify yourself before offering a motion. Additionally, Caitlin will conduct a roll call for each vote. We will now move to the consent agenda. There are 8 items on the consent agenda today. I will read each of the 8 items. Number 1, proposed meeting minutes, May 23rd, 2023. Number 2, revitalization and placemaking project amendment. Number 3, Gemini capital management and MCRP amendment. Number 4, Magna seating of America and MBDP amendment. Number 5, LG Energy Solution and MBDP and JRMP amendments. Number 6, Disaster Recovery Action Plan Amendment, Wayne County allocation increase. Number 7, Plasan Carbon Composites, Inc. and an MBDP payment write-off request. And number 8, an MSF public comment policy. After review of the items on the consent agenda, are there any questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, a motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Is there such a motion? Messer will move. Is there support? I'm sorry?
Cap supports.
Hutchison supports.
Okay, we have a motion by Messer and we have a second by Cap and Hutchison to approve the consent agenda. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Meyering,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes. Next, we will move to develop attractive places. The Talbot Quimby LLC and City of Grand Rapids Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. There are 2 votes. For our first item of business today, we will welcome my colleague Mackenzie Miller, Community Development Manager for Region 4, to present on a resolution to approve a Michigan Community Revitalization Program Other Economic Assistant Loan Participation Award and a Brownfield Act 381 work plan with state tap capture for eligible activities for Talbot Quimby LLC and the City of Grand Rapids Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Take it away, Mackenzie.
Thank you, Quentin, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for your time and your consideration today. As Quentin mentioned, my name is Mackenzie Miller, and I am the Community Development Manager for Region 4, covering Kent, Ottawa, and Muskegon counties. And representing this project today, I have with me Ryan Talbot, owner at Talbot Development, and John O'Cluster, Assistant Economic Development Director at the City of Grand Rapids. We are very excited to bring the Talbot Quimby project for consideration today. The project will redevelop a vacant brownfield site in the Creston neighborhood by constructing a 4-story, 72-unit mixed-use development with activation of 1,100 square feet of commercial space. Rental rates for the housing units in the project are anticipated to be accessible to households at or below 120% of the area median income for Kent County. Upon completion, the project will transform vacant property into a vibrant, high-density mixed-use development, giving life to the Plainfield corridor of Grand Rapids, resulting in a total anticipated capital investment of approximately $14.8 million. At this time, I would like to ask Ryan Talbot, the developer for this project and owner of Talbot Development, to talk a bit more about the project and the experience of the development team. Ryan?
Thanks, Mackenzie. And board members, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your consideration on this project. My name is Ryan. I'm a Michigan boomerang. I grew up in the Detroit area, went to U of M for undergrad, but graduated in 2008 when there wasn't a lot of opportunities for a young and inexperienced graduate. And I ended up on the West Coast for about the last 15 years. Most recently, I was in Portland, Oregon, working in development with my brother-in-law. And in Portland and along the West Coast, there's been an affordability problem for quite a long time. And he and I dialed into a multifamily development niche of building high density, efficient, urban infill, transit oriented multifamily projects, just like this one. And we had a great run of it in Portland. We did about 1,000 units together. He still runs that company, but as I got further in my development experience and I watched the changes in the city of Portland, I knew that that wasn't the long-term place for me. And I'd been wanting to move back to Michigan for a while, but found that I finally had the skill set to come back and actually start a development firm of my own. So got back to the state about 1.5 years ago and found an opportunity here in the Grand Rapids market in this site in Plainfield and Quimby in the Creston neighborhood. So this is a 4-story, 72-unit building. It's focused on a heavy number of studio units as a means to combat the affordability issues that we have in the city. And it also includes a small cafe on the ground floor. So we'll be redeveloping what's currently a vacant site and putting lots of households right in the middle of this vibrant, walkable neighborhood.
Thank you, Ryan. And now I would like to ask John O'Cluster from the City of Grand Rapids to speak about the local support for the project. Jono?
Great, thank you, Mackenzie, and good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. Thanks for your time. My name is John O'Cluster. I serve as the Assistant Economic Development Director for the City of Grand Rapids, as well as the Executive Director of the Brownfield Authority. This project's a really high priority for us. The Plainfield corridor, where this project's located, is one of our great local commercial districts, surrounded right now primarily by single-family residents. It's a corridor that's seen some building momentum coming out of the pandemic, and Ryan sees the opportunity and the potential for this property in the corridor like we do. And we're glad to have had the opportunity to work with him and his team on getting the project to you today. You all know the need for housing in your communities. In Grand Rapids, we've identified the need for about 8,000 new just rental units by 2027. So until somebody brings me an 8,000 unit development, the best way we know how to work toward meeting that need is to do appropriately dense infill development on commercial corridors. And on a vacant property like this, it's a great opportunity. The infrastructure is in place to support it, and the amenities in the neighborhood are going to be attractive to the new residents, and they'll in turn support those local businesses. This project in particular will be catalytic for the Creston neighborhood and continue to drive the momentum that we've seen building and that we've been working on in collaboration with the MBDP and the Strategic Fund over the past several years. And hopefully we'll bring more projects to you like this in the future. So I'm happy to take any questions, but again, thank you on behalf of the city for your time and consideration and your ongoing support of projects that meet our shared goals in Grand Rapids.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jono. And as you all have heard today, you know, this project is a very high priority for the city of Grand Rapids and local partners who have spent many years working to develop and redevelop the Creston neighborhood. So as you know, local financial support for the project is substantial. It includes both the local portion of the Brownfield plan and a 15-year neighborhood enterprise zone tax abatement with a combined estimated value of approximately 1.6 million. The project supports the MBDC strategic plan by developing attractive places through activation of underutilized property and leveraging private investment in a geographically disadvantaged business location. The project aligns with Michigan Community Revitalization Program guidelines as a mixed-use development in a certified redevelopment-ready community, as well as by implementing local priorities and plans, activating vacant brownfield property, and increasing density in an area of development priority. In order to see this important community development project realized, the recommendation today is for MSF approval of a Michigan Community Revitalization Program, other economic assistance loan participation of $2.65 million, and a Brownfield Act 381 work plan with state tax capture of up to $367,680. Thank you again for your time and consideration today, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie. Thank you so much, Ryan. Board members, are there any questions?
Mr. Tellier has two.
Please go ahead, proceed.
Maybe this is a good one for Jono. Did this require a rezoning? And then secondarily, as somebody who lives in Grand Rapids, the second most obvious question for a bustling, vibrant corridor like the Plainfield corridor, where are they going to park?
Thank you for your question, Sue. This property, Ryan, you'll have to remind me, rezone?
No, this wasn't
No.
rezoned.
So their parking was the concern that was raised initially in the project. And this location in particular in the Creston neighborhood, there are two city-owned parking lots. One is immediately behind this project with underutilized parking spaces. So the question was raised. The response from the city is that this is a project that's located on a bus line. The developer will actually be assisting us, as we ask many developers to do, by installing a covered bus shelter along that bus line to help us with our multimodal mobility efforts in Grand Rapids. So we're making good progress on that. The parking for the project is allowable under the city zoning ordinance. There's a provision that there's calculations to determine the amount of parking, and the city is able to, if there are sufficient on-street parking, public parking in the neighborhood and on a bus line, to waive a certain percentage of the parking. And that was approved in this case. So there is sufficient parking in the area for the residents.
So is there, I'm sorry, just to follow up, is there parking being developed with the project? And if so, how many spots?
There is parking being developed with the project, and the number, Ryan, is
It's 28 spots on site.
28.
For the 72 units. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are at least 100 public parking spaces within a couple blocks of this project.
Board Member Tellier, are all your questions addressed?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Hearing none, we're going to conduct two separate votes. For the first vote, we will vote to approve the Michigan Community Revitalization Program Other Economic Assistant Loan Participation Award. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Corbin moves the motion.
Moved by Hutchinson.
Supported by
Hutchinson
Corbin.
supports.
Appreciate it. We have a motion by Director Corbin. We have a second by Chair, Subcommittee Chair Hutchinson to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
and Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. A second vote is required to approve the Brownfield Act 381 work plan. Thank you. Motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
I bring in a motion to accept the vote.
So we have a motion by Richardson. Do we have a second? Messer will second to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. This motion also passes and the recommendation is also adopted. Well, congratulations to the Talbot Quimby LLC team and the City of Grand Rapids Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. We look forward to the progress and thank you, Mackenzie, for your work on this project. Next, we will go to the Lumber Square Nonprofit Housing Corporation, G.A. Hahn Development LLC, and County of Emmett Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. We will have 3 votes for this particular item. We will welcome Dan Leonard, my colleague. He is the Redevelopment Services Director, to present on a resolution to approve a MCRP or Michigan Community Revitalization Program Performance-Based Other Economic Assistant Loan Participation Award, a RAP Performance-Based Grant, and a Brownfield Act 381 work plan for Lumber Square Nonprofit Housing Corporation, G.A. Hahn Development LLC, and the County of Emmett Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Dan, please take it away.
Thank you, Quentin, and good morning, anyone. That was a mouthful of a request already out of the blocks. That being said, the project that we're looking at today is in an RRC certified community in the city of Petoskey. The Old Emmett neighborhood is located just south of downtown Petoskey, for those of you that aren't familiar. And the corridor actually itself, Emmett Street, has been improved over the course of the last year and a half, I would say, with all new infrastructure, water, sewer, streetscape. It really is kind of an emerging neighborhood, if you will, in an area of focus that the city is placing on this, what was an industrial sector of town. Surrounding this region and the site itself, it's primarily neighborhood. And just to the east of here is actually a school with the Northwestern Michigan, Northwestern Community College, excuse me. I always get the northern ones mixed up a little bit, but in this corridor itself, it's an area of focus for the city. It's about a 1.5 acre undeveloped property that has sat vacant for many, many years. Formerly, it was a lumber yard, and it's since been decommissioned over the course of the last probably 10 or 12 years and has sat vacant. And within this corridor, there has been other commercial and small residential improvements throughout the area, but this has kind of been just an overall blighted site in the mix of what is to be hopefully a transitional area for the city of Petoskey. Locally, housing is no new issue that has been struggling throughout northern Michigan and trying to solidify some type of stable base for new opportunities for people to move here, to work here, to live here. And the project we're looking at today is going to improve the area with about 70,000 square foot of new residential units. We're looking at 60 new rental units that will be built upon a couple of different buildings, encompassing the entirety of the site. Parking will be assessed on site. I think they're going to provide roughly 62 new units for on-site parking, as well as a couple of those being electrically charged. And throughout this corridor, as you'll see in the lower left-hand side of your map, there's actually the Greenway Corridor, which is an important feature that the city has invested in itself to connect both this area of Old Emmett Town or Old Town Emmett Street to the northeastern corner of the city of Petoskey and all the way extending up to Bear Creek Trailhead. So this is a multimodal transportation corridor. They actually host a significant number of like farmers markets and events throughout this entire space. It's really kind of been a nice corridor to see new investment kind of follow its extension. As a piece of the Brownfield plan on this project, they'll be extending the infrastructure down to the site that should encompass and hopefully carry folks both north and south throughout the entire community, as well as bring residents who are going to be living in these new units throughout the rest of the city to access work and play and social events, etc. We have seen additional new investment in this specific spot of downtown Petoskey and interest in other building owners with the improvements of activating existing commercial spaces. So this being a high priority for the city of Petoskey and them identifying this as a top redevelopment priority site is quite a lift. And the story behind it gets a little bit more dense in the fact as to how this project is actually coming before you. The Petoskey Harbor Springs Community Foundation has kind of been the champion here in leading the actual acquisition of the site itself and working with the landowners to secure the property. They then went live to try and identify a development team to come in and actually build a housing solution that would, again, facilitate the need for this type of use and filling a big niche in the community, especially in this neighborhood. So Han Development is actually a development property and a development partner who has done significant number of LIHTC projects around the state. They are not new to this type of construction pattern and have a great track record of performing. And at the end of the day, once these 60 units are completed and brought online, management will be handed off via ownership to Northern Homes. Lofset Lumber Square LLC is a subsidiary of Northern Homes, who is managed by Jane McKenzie, who is with us today. And they have a track record of owning several different assets around the region, both single family, multifamily, that are ones that will stay in the pipeline of income restricted management for the duration. And currently this site itself will be looking at a 50-year window of time where those income limits will be at or below 120% of the area median income. So as Quentin mentioned earlier, this does come with it a laundry list of incentives. Locally, the community has stepped up. They have roughly $1.6 million dedicated in the form of a work plan request and local contribution through an Act 381 eligible activities that will take care of infrastructure needs, on-site stormwater management, as well as new site prep activities to kind of get everything ready for construction. The MCRP request in terms of an actual loan is roughly $3.33 million, with a $1.5 million forgivable portion of that, which would be forgiven at C of O. And then lastly, a request of the RAP performance-based grant at $2.5 million. So overall, this is a roughly $16.6 million new investment on a formerly vacant piece of property. And I think everyone in the region is really looking forward to seeing this new transformational project take hold. With us today, I want to give thanks to Sarah Ford. And Sarah, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words on behalf of the Community Foundation and kind of maybe setting the tone for how this came to be a priority for that organization.
Yes, thank you, Dan, and thank you to Chairman Messer and the entire Michigan Strategic Fund Board for your consideration of the Lofset Lumber Square Workforce Housing Development in Petoskey. As Dan said, my name is Sarah Ford. I'm the Director of Community Philanthropy at the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation. And the Community Foundation is proud to be a partner in this Lofset Lumber Square project. We want to thank our partners at GA Han Development for initiating this project actually several years ago, and our partners at Northern Homes Community Development Corporation for coming on board to own and manage this community asset as Dan described. Throughout our involvement with this project, we've been asked why the Community Foundation, and it's a fair question because in some ways we've never done anything like buying land and getting directly involved in housing development, yet in other ways this is exactly what we do. Throughout our 30-year history, we've identified community needs and looked for unique and innovative solutions to meet those needs, and what our community needs now is housing. If you've ever been to the Petoskey area, as I'm sure many of you have, because we attract many visitors throughout this year, You know, it's a wonderful place full of natural beauty and opportunity. But we don't want it to become a place where only certain people can afford to live and thrive. Our sense of community and our local economy are being impacted by the lack of attainable housing. The Community Foundation recognized that one of the key barriers to new homes being built in our area is this persistent and consistent funding gap. And we have committed to bringing significant capital to this project in the form of local support. We know that this is the issue to solve in our area, and our board of directors felt that the Community Foundation was in the position to help solve it. So that's how we got involved. We know that we need to be one of the risk takers in our community because frankly, there are no easy problems left to solve. Private developers and nonprofit organizations in our community cannot do it alone. And we felt like we need this kind of unique partnership this project offers to make progress on this issue. So I just want to thank you again for your consideration of support for the lofts at Lumber Square. And I believe Jane's available too, and see how Dan wants to go from here. Thank you.
No, that was a perfect segue. Jane, are you with us this morning?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Yes, I am Jane McKenzie. I'm Executive Director of Northern Homes Community Development Corporation, and I want to thank you for your consideration of support for the lofts at Lumber Square. Three things I want to cover today. First is this is what we do. Northern Homes Community Development Corporation. We develop and provide housing for the local workforce in Petoskey and throughout Northern Michigan. Northern Homes has successfully developed projects in rural Northern Michigan for the past 25 years. Secondly, as a nonprofit organization, we are not profit driven. We are mission driven. We don't build it and flip it for cash. We hold the property and projects for a long time so that they are a community-based housing asset for the local community. Especially this project with the support and contributions from the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation, it's important that we stay true to the initial goals of the project for the long term. And we already manage other apartment projects in Petoskey and throughout Northern Michigan. And so this project is a continuation of that. The Lofts at Lumber Square is an important project for Petoskey that supports small businesses and their workforce. So again, thank you for your thoughtful consideration and support for the Lofts at Lumber Square. And you have a great staff that helped us work through the application and approval process. So thank you to Dan and his team for their assistance for this project.
Appreciate that, Jane. So Quentin and company, please feel free to ask any questions you may have, as I think we've got the right crew here to clarify any remaining points.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, Sarah, and Jane. It is appreciated. Colleagues on the board, are there any additional questions? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any questions for the team? Hearing none, we will take the first of three separate votes. For the first vote, we approve the Brownfield Act 381 work plan. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Hutchinson moves.
We have multiple motions, but I'm going to say Messer just for ease, and I think Richardson may be on the second. Is that correct, Board Member Richardson? Were you one of the ones moving?
I was not.
Okay, my mistake. How about who else? Who moved? Can somebody support? Randy
Hutchinson.
supports. Okay, we have a motion by Messer, a second by Thielen to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap.
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Meyering,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. The second vote is to approve the Michigan Community Revitalization Program Other Economic Assistance Loan Participation Award. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Corbin moves.
We have a motion by Corbin. We have a second by Messer to approve the requests. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. And then the third and final vote of this series is to approve the Revitalization and Placemaking or RAP Grant Award. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
I'd like to bring the motion for a vote.
We have a motion by Richardson. We have a second by Messer to approve the requests. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. Congratulations to the entire development team, and we look forward to hearing about updates on this exciting project.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate your hard work and everyone else. Now, we will go to 115 Lake Street LLC. We will welcome back Mackenzie Miller. She's been a busy beaver. Is the Community Development Manager for Region 4 to present on a resolution to approve a MCRP performance-based grant to 115 Lake Street LLC. Take it away, Mackenzie.
Thank you, Quentin, and good morning again, everyone. Thank you for the time and consideration. We are excited to bring forward the 115 Lake Street project. And with me today are Chris Venneklausen, CEO of Venneklausen Construction, and Scott Hubler, City Manager for the City of Whitehall. And we are excited to bring this project forward for consideration today. The proposed project plans to develop a vacant site that was home to the former Pinheads Bowling Alley. We'll develop that into a 31,000 square foot, 3-story mixed-use building containing approximately 2,000 square feet of first-floor commercial space, an estimated 32 attainable residential units with lower-level integrated parking. Housing units for the project are intended to be accessible to households at 100% of area median income for Muskegon County. As part of the project, the city will make improvements to Goodrich Park and its surrounding infrastructure, including construction of a switchback bike and pedestrian trail adjacent to the site that will tie the downtown to the park and the waterfront. Upon completion, the project will transform a brownfield site to meet important community needs for housing, resulting in a total anticipated capital investment of approximately $8.6 million. And at this time, I would like to ask Chris Venneklausen, CEO of Venneklausen Construction, to talk a bit more about the project and his experience. Chris?
Thanks, Mackenzie. And I just want to thank the entire MBDC staff as well as the MSF board for your time. And of course, I want to thank the City of Whitehall for rolling out the red carpet for us. This site has been vacant since 2006. So my suspicions are there's been a lot of developers that have taken a swing at this site. And we wouldn't be here without the incentives offered by the city and the state. So I just thank you for that. And our company has been involved in a number of infill developments like this, and we're excited to continue that track record. Our projects are full, and we've found residents that have previously worked in the community but haven't lived in the community. So we're finding some success there, and actually what we think are net increases in population for community participation and people living and shopping and dining in the area. And the investment group on this particular project all are what I would say are intensely invested in the outcome of this project, and emotionally so. We all have ties to the White Lake area, and we all spend consistent time here, whether living full-time or part-time. So it's a site that's very important to us, and we're just really excited to make this next step. And certainly I don't need to tell everyone about the benefits of bringing housing to the downtown core like a community like Whitehall. And we just feel like this project will become a gateway from the west and the waterfront for the city and just continue to be a catalyst for future development in the area. And we just appreciate your time and attention to this, and just want to thank everybody involved, and I'll step back and be available for questions.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Now I would like to ask Scott Hubler from the City of Whitehall to speak about the local support of the project. Scott?
Hi, Mackenzie. Thank you. And thank you, board members, for the opportunity today. Shortly after I got here 22 years ago, Pinhead's Bowling Alley closed, which was kind of not a good start to a career here. And we started working with the Gilmore Group on redevelopment shortly thereafter. And Chris is right. There's been a dozen swings over the years on this site as far as redevelopment. We've seen a lot of ideas, a lot of plans, and a whole lot of wishful thinking. But this project has definitely got us closer than we've ever been. And with the support of MEDC today, I'm sure we're going to have shovels in the ground very shortly. I would say the local support is more characterized as enthusiastically embracing. It's the buzz in all the coffee shops. We get calls probably every other week from people wanting to rent already. And of course, we forward those over to Chris. And the city of Whitehall itself is not a stranger to cooperative large-scale investments on the private side. We're currently working with Eastbrook Homes out of Grand Rapids on a $50 million brownfield redevelopment. And not that long ago, Howmet Aerospace put in $90 million into our local community. The project has been approved by the Planning Commission. In fact, we shortly after they created the 115 Lake Street LLC, we switched the front of the property to better suit the development. So it's now 201 West Colby is the official address. The city council has approved a commercial rehab abatement. Our tax increment finance authority is, as Mackenzie mentioned, the Colby Street Promenade, as we're calling it, is a $500,000 investment that'll be right adjacent to this parcel. It will also connect our downtown, better connect our downtown with our waterfront. Right now, we got a 5-foot sidewalk, and this is going to be an ADA accessible community gathering place. And it is actually part of a revitalization and placemaking grant with the region, or sorry, the Prosperity Region 4 that we've currently submitted. That project will be about top us over $3 million in the last 5 years in our downtown facelift. And I think this project is really the final piece of us continuing to grow and make our downtown that much more vibrant. And we did just recently receive our designation as a redevelopment ready community from MEDC. So we're real excited about that. And this project actually fit perfect with all the changes we did with our master plan and our zoning. So again, thank you, board. Thank you, Mackenzie, and the rest of your staff, and certainly Chris and his crew for getting us where we are today.
Thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate the time this morning. As you all have heard, the project is of strong priority for the city of Whitehall, as it will redevelop a long vacant brownfield site to meet community needs and connectivity to downtown. This project is also, being led by a developer that's worked really closely with community stakeholders to bring this project to fruition and successful implementation to anticipate to catalyze investment in the surrounding area. As Scott mentioned, local support for the project is substantial with a 10-year Commercial Rehabilitation Act tax abatement with an anticipated value of $733,000. This project supports the MEDC strategic plan by developing attractive places through activation of underutilized property and aligns with Michigan Community Revitalization Program guidelines. This mixed-use development will implement community priorities identified in the city's master plan, activate vacant brownfield property, increase density, and improve public infrastructure. In order to see this important community development project come to fruition, the recommendation today is for MSF approval of a Michigan Community Revitalization Program performance-based grant in the amount of $1.5 million. Thank you again for your time and consideration this morning. We're really happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie, and thank you so much to the 115 Lake Street LLC development team and the city of Whitehall. Fellow board members, are there any questions? Hearing none, a motion is needed to
I'll make-
conduct a roll call vote. I'm sorry, was there a question? Wes, did you have a question, sir?
No, I was ready to make the motion.
Wes, we have a motion from Ms. Eklund. Do we have a second?
Corbin supports.
We have a supporting motion from Director Corbin to approve the MCRP performance-based grant request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson. Did we lose him? Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. Congratulations to the team and really grateful to the city's perseverance as well as the risk-taking attitude of the developer. Thank you so much, Mackenzie.
Thank you, everyone.
We will now go to the next agenda item, attract, retain, and grow business. We will have Matt Chasness, another one of my colleagues, the Senior Business Development Project Manager, to present on a resolution to approve a Michigan Business Development Program performance-based grant for Expleo. Matt, take it away, please.
Thanks, Q, and good morning, board. My name is Matt Chasness, and I'm with the MBDC as a Senior Business Development Project Manager. I'm excited to bring forward a project with Expleo USA Incorporated. For a bit of background on the company, they offer a range of services, including engineering, quality assurance, digital transformation, and consulting to clients in the aerospace, automotive, financial services, and healthcare industries. The company is looking to establish their first R&D center in North America here in Oakland County, Michigan, to meet expected increases in demand. The facility will house an extensive engineering team and will allow for expansion and additional employees as the company continues to grow. At this time, I'd like to introduce Marcus Genguin, Executive Vice President of Automotive at Expleo, to discuss the project a little bit further. Marcus?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus Genguin, responsible for Expleo automotive activities worldwide. And yes, we are already have different business activities in the US and in Canada, but Michigan was our white spot. And thanks to our accounts, we have like Stellantis, GM, and others. Our plan is to develop innovation solutions for our customers in Michigan. And for that, we would like to develop a team up to 200 FTEs and more in Michigan in front of our customers, which are linked to our worldwide account strategy. And therefore, thanks to the innovation part, a lot of electronic business, a lot of services business, we see there a positive future for our team in Michigan with Michigan management to develop our business activities in a positive way for the upcoming years.
Thanks, Marcus. The company considered placing this R&D office in Canada, the Midwest, and in southern states, many of which have existing locations that would provide synergistic efficiencies through recruitment and cost sharing. Michigan was considered for this location because of the significant automotive presence in the state, and locating their facility in the epicenter of automotive R&D will support existing clients while also allowing the company to build new relationships. I'd like to highlight the Detroit Regional Partnership, Oakland County Economic Development, and Michigan Works, and thank them for their support in helping attract this project to the state. The project aligns with the MBDC's strategic focus area of supporting a business in the target industry of engineering, design, and development, and builds on the state's work to position itself as a global leader in the future of mobility and vehicle electrification. The proposed project will create high-wage engineering jobs while strengthening the state's tech and automotive supply chains as the industry shifts to electrification. To support the establishment of its first North American R&D facility, I'm recommending an approval of a $3 million Michigan Business Development Program grant to Expleo USA Incorporated for the creation of 196 high-paying jobs and $2,010,000 of private investment. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Hi,
It's Charlie Rothstein with a question. So where is this facility going to be located?
It's going to be located in Oakland County. The company's still identifying their final site, and actually Marcus is in town to do final tours of their facilities.
How do we then know if there's no site that's actually been selected? How do we know how much it's going to cost?
The costs are estimated lease costs, but also include computers and infrastructure for the staff.
So is this normal for us to be doing this before we have a specific location?
Hey, let me try to take that, Charlie. I think it's can you hear me, Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me try to take that and then I'll pass it back over to Matt. In certain projects, particularly those that are more focused on R&D type roles, what you're investing in is the commitment to the payroll. Remember, all this is based upon milestones. So the company has, as Marcus mentioned, committed up to 200 high-paying R&D facilities. So they're not going to have a large physical infrastructure presence, but they're also going to make, as Matt mentioned, an investment of a little over $2 million in private investment to secure leases, relocation, folks back and forth, and to build out of the space. So this is something we've done previously. They have narrowed their search to Oakland County, and we expect that that will be finalized. So this is not atypical for this type of more R&D, non-manufacturing opportunity.
And so these 196 jobs that hopefully are created, are those to be located in Michigan? Are they remote? Are they Michiganders that are hired? How do we track that with today's hybrid?
They will be definitely hired in Michigan, yeah. And without having a location, there's no chance to develop our projects. We start with activities based on already awarded projects. So therefore, as Matt said, I'm in town. We have done let's say a pre-selection of buildings, and there's no way out than renting such a location with a little shop floor to be able to start our projects. Okay. And the plan is definitely to establish a Michigan competence center team for all of our customers. And Oakland, it is the center of Michigan, so we have to be near to the Detroit community, inclusive Auburn Hills. So therefore, this is my plan, how to sign as fast as possible a contract for this office and for our excellence center.
Thank you.
Dan Myring. Matt, could you remind us to follow up on Charlie's question? How are these jobs tracked as far as new jobs versus pulling from other employers in the area?
They are going to be new job. The jobs are being created. They will be filled by Michiganders. They're going to be full-time employees working a minimum of 35 hours a week. And the way that we track the job creation is just ensuring that their start date was after the date of their offer letter.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask if there is any other questions.
Hearing none, a motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Affolter Kane moves.
We have a motion by Affolter Kane. We have a second by Messer to approve the performance-based grant request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Ackland,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein, Sorry, Charlie, we didn't hear you. Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. Thank you so much, Matt, and everyone on this team, particularly Vaco Thomas Bobis from our European business attraction effort, as well as Marcus. We grateful for you to be in Michigan and safe passage back to France. With
Many
that,
thanks.
Bill,
Many thanks to the trust and its clear.
yep, thank you. We'll go to the next agenda item, support small business. We have small business support hubs. There are two separate votes. Amy Rencher, Senior Vice President for Small Business Services, will now present on a resolution to allocate American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, coronavirus state and local recovery, fiscal recovery funds to create and operate the Small Business Support Hubs program, adopt the corresponding guidelines, and approve delegate authority for the Michigan Strategic Fund President, the Michigan Strategic Fund Fund Manager, and the State Treasurer. Take it away, Amy.
Thank you, Chairman Messer. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Amy Rencher. I'm the Senior Vice President for Small Business Services at the MBDC. Members of the board, it's my honor and pleasure to make this request in the amount of $75 million, as Chairman Messer indicated, to allocate American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds on several measures to create and operate the Small Business Support Hubs program, adopt the corresponding guidelines, approve delegate authority for the MSF President, Fund Manager, and the State Treasurer. This initiative will bring new and more comprehensive resources to small business across the state by providing up to $6 million in funding to entrepreneurial hubs for operations and deployment of business support services, as well as direct grant support to small businesses statewide. Passed into law in the budget supplemental of February this year, and stemming from over a year and a half of extensive stakeholder engagement from a combination of the Governor's Office, Lieutenant Governor's Office, and in partnership with our colleagues at the Office of Labor and Economic Opportunity. This program design reflects feedback sessions also conducted in March and April of this year, which included over 120 key stakeholders representing business service organizations, community development and financial institutions, smart zones, economic development organizations, CDOs, and of course, small businesses themselves. The program design also incorporates compliance requirements of ARP funding, including the critical obligated deadline of 12/31/24 and the final expenditure deadline of 12/31/26. We are nearing the very end of this funding opportunity with the federal government and have been working very diligently across many departments of the MDC. And as you heard, with partners in the field, to design a program that is both feasible, reflective of the needs of the market, and can be done within the constraints, particularly timing constraints of ARP. Examples of eligible applicants include, but are not limited to, Michigan Smart Zones, nonprofit business service organizations, other entrepreneurial hubs, business accelerators or incubators, tribal entities, and other entities serving small businesses owners in diverse, rural, and other underrepresented communities. The program design is split into two key activities: operations and programming, that is up to $65 million in funding to support hubs to deploy programming and services to small businesses. Operations examples include personnel, fixtures, furniture, and equipment, hardware, software, supplies, professional development and training, and marketing expenses. Program deployment examples include one-on-one coaching, consultations, workshops, group-based learning or cohort-based learning, pitch competitions, networking, and mentorship events. The other up to $10 million of the funding opportunity is for direct grants to businesses. That is up to $10 million in direct grants to small businesses disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Grant awards to an individual business may not exceed $20,000. Grants must relate to eligible programs or services provided by the hub and are awarded at the discretion of the hub. In terms of program goals, fundamentally, what we're seeking to do here is cultivate a more inclusive, accessible, and effective entrepreneurial ecosystem through investment into hubs and small business owners across the state. This investment will support a more highly collaborative statewide network of small business resource hubs while enabling best practice sharing and better supporting small businesses in navigating to and through regional, state, and federal resources. We anticipate roughly 20,000 small businesses to be served over the course of this 3-year initiative throughout the state of Michigan. Key performance indicators for the program include number of businesses served and first time and tracking referrals throughout the network. The number of minority-owned businesses served. This is a requirement of the state law, and this was passed through. New business starts, loans, venture, angel, and other financial investments obtained. Jobs created and retained, increases to revenue, facilitated revenue, and other factors as determined by the MSF. We are incredibly pleased and proud to present this opportunity to the board. As you heard through my brief overview, this is really the result of years of work through multiple offices of the state, trusted stakeholders in the field, as a way to better serve small businesses disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 and really enable a successful and effective ecosystem across the state for many years to come. Members of the board, it would be my pleasure to take any questions from you at this time.
Amy, it's Charlie Rothstein again. I do have a question. And so I'm just trying to get my head around what it is that you're doing. So there's 75 million, 65 million of it is going to go to programming and 10 million is going to be scattered for grants and things like that, I think is what I heard you say.
That's correct.
And you're going to try to give it the 65 away in amounts not to exceed 6 million.
Yes.
Okay, so there's like 10 of these. And so you're going to take, just for round number, 6 million and put it into an organization. Right?
So 6 million is the Mr. Rothstein, if I can provide a little more context. 6 million is the cap. We want to establish a maximum that gave us flexibility. We anticipate ultimately making in between 20 and 25 awards to grants, to hubs across the state. And so a more average representation, I think, of a grant to hub is probably in the $3 million range. And this is what was reflected from feedback across partners. Some of the strong feedback that we heard from partners was encouraging us, quite honestly, not to spread the funds too thinly.
Mm-hmm. So just as an example of an organization, I'm not suggesting or endorsing, it's just one that I know the name of, which is like Tech Town.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a hub?
Yes, sir.
Well, so, okay, so you'd give them money to enhance their programming and their training, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that a one-time, are you trying to do this one time? So it's 3 million now and then you're on your own to Tech Town or
yeah, I appreciate the question, Mr. Rothstein. It is an important one. And so to the members of the board, to be clear, American Rescue Plan Act funds are one-time funds. We are in sort of the 11th hour of the ARP funding cycle. These funds have been flowing through the state for a number of years at this point, and this request has been outstanding, quite honestly, from the community for a number of years. So we have structured the program in such a way that it leverages the state's system of existing hubs, including and most notably smart zones, and has the opportunity to welcome in new partners, particularly in areas of the state for which there is no current smart zone coverage. And so there is a relative spread that I can explain to the board of applicants as we have seen the pool. It would be roughly a third of applicants, as we anticipate, will be smart zones. This hybrid approach to their work. Normally, those are tech-facing hubs, right? They're funded by TIF Capture and by gateway grants in the MBDC, in part to serve high-growth tech businesses. They found other means along their evolution to serve small businesses. So roughly 1/3 of the applicants we anticipate to be hubs that are already doing this and can use these programs to make catalytic investments and to really further the geography of folks that they serve at their location and through sort of remote service. The second sort of segment of applicants we anticipate are smart zones that have indicated to us, hey, we have this demand. We need this. We're in a more rural part of the state and are constrained by the TIF Capture, combination of TIF Capture and or gateway grants to only serve tech-facing businesses when we know we have a strong demand for sort of Main Street, brick and mortar style or other small businesses. The third segment of anticipated applicants are new applicants, and these could look and can look very different based upon our outreach across the state here more recently and through previous outreach as I outlined. And so that could look anything in a very rural community or small town like a library. This is a typical convening hub for folks. There's technology that folks use. There's the computers, the workshop, they use rooms for workshops, and so this is already an established place where folks come together in the community. It would be a natural place. And in my experience, having worked in Detroit and in the Southeast Michigan area, that this is a library is often a de facto hub as such. And so the library might serve as the hub. They would partner with technical, partners in the field to bring those resources to the library, and potentially also to have satellite or remote services based upon contractors they employ to serve broader parts of the region they're in.
Yeah, and so that's all great, and it's a wonderful impact that you'll make, I'm sure. I just be careful that we don't drop money on a particular spot and they burn through it in a year, and then it's gone and the program is dead. So, I mean, these things do take time. You're kind of like planting a garden, and it takes time to mature. So I'm hoping that as you analyze the different opportunities, you're looking at their budgeting so that it can be a continual program, not just a one-off.
Yes, and applicants will be evaluated. We are engaging a joint, I think what the MBDC refers to as a joint evaluation committee for this opportunity. It will be a mix of certainly MBDC staffers with community and economic development experience, technical partners in the field, so some of the organizations I laid out, as well as representation from each prosperity region. So we're getting sort of the evaluation of 3 measures on to kind of help unfold what we're discussing here on a technical level, on an overall project feasibility level.
So just so they understand, the $75 million that this creates is it's a one-time thing. This is a gift, and it needs to be nurtured so that it endures, the impact endures. Okay, that's all.
Absolutely.
Just suggestion.
I have a question.
Yes,
Following
sir.
up on Mr. Brostein's question, are there any restrictions or conditions on how these funds are used, considering their one-time use, and should be managed properly and
Yes.
used for the appropriate? That's my question, but go ahead.
Pardon me, sir, for interrupting.
Please continue.
There are a number of initiatives, and so of restrictions. The ARP funding is very specific. It has taken, I mentioned the sort of number of individuals across departments of the MDC, across other departments of the state, and in our partnership with Accenture, whom the state contracts with to manage the overall compliance for ARP programming. They are quite restrictive. And so I talked about, kind of the evolution of program design here. We had that large amount of stakeholder engagement. They had to go back and have worked with Accenture and our partners at DTMB on an almost weekly basis, really for the past couple of months. And so some of the notable, I'll call it the most, the sort of hairiest of all. I mentioned that we're in sort of the 11th hour of execution for ARP programming. The obligated deadline of 12/31/24 is significant. This means that we need to be under contract down to the subrecipient level by the end of the next calendar year. And so we have been working diligently, but swiftly as well to prepare this program design such that our applicants have about a year to get folks under contract, to organize, personnel resources, contractors, programming, the like, to then continue to execute on that programming through the ultimate expenditure deadline of the program of 12/31/26. We will not be allowing construction costs as an eligible. They are technically permissible by ARP. We have determined for the purpose of this program, we will not be allowing construction costs. There's a number of, let me just say, sort of cascading effects that roll down from the obligated deadline that we have to adhere to. There is probably the other most notable one that is relevant to some of our existing hubs across the state is that there is a provision in the ARP guidelines that prohibits hubs to generate revenue from such opportunities, right? So we are subsidizing the programming services that they are deploying in the field. They can't then charge for those initiatives. That's a function of ARP compliance guidelines.
Amy, thanks for the overview that you provided. I guess, so we approve this request. How will we really be able to gauge years from now or on an annual basis? How will we get updates to determine whether this is successful or not? Or really the real question is how what does success look like, and how do we know that we were successful with this overall venture?
Great question, Mr. Hutchison. So just on the technical level, the ARP reporting guidelines are stringent and they are regular. So grantees will be required to submit quarterly reporting to the MEDC. We'll flow that up through our colleagues at DTMB. We'll ultimately submit to US Treasury. The third quarterly report of the year also serves as an annual report, in which there is more. And so the quarterly reporting requires effectively budget to actual expenditures. And on the annual basis, we'll get into some more of the KPIs that take longer time to actualize, but are just as meaningful. And so examples of those would be jobs created or retained, revenue increases to the company are kind of some of the two prime examples there. So that's the technical requirements that we will certainly adhere to. In terms of program, evaluation over time, we have identified a separate bucket of funds that is not ARP funding, because as I understand that use would be not permissible, to engage in a form of strategic evaluation through this opportunity. So that would need to go to RFP, right? That would be competitively bid out, certainly, but we would be looking at an entity that would evaluate this impact over time, such that ultimately, to the points of the board members here, right, this one-time funding, we can help make the case for sustained investment over time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Amy, this is Sue Tellier. I have two quick comments.
Yes, ma'am.
One of them is a recommendation that when you're looking at jobs retained or created, if you separate those two, sometimes retained is a very kind of amorphous guess on the part of a small business, just speaking firsthand. And but I know exactly how many jobs I created as a result of a contract win or something like that. So I just from a field capture perspective, that has more credibility. And second, I just want to commend you and your team, because I have every confidence that the piece of requiring the organizations receiving the grants to help raise awareness for the programs, you and your team have really expanded your reach tremendously by your own network. You've been very inclusive in the small business community in gathering input on this, and I'm really confident it will be successful. So thanks for the heroic work.
Thank you, Ms. Tellier.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, board members. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, for the first vote, we will vote to adopt the Small Business Support Hubs program. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Oh, your motions?
Hutchison seconds the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion by Tellier. We have a second by Hutchison to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yes.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. The second vote is to approve the delegation of authority. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion? We have a motion by Messer. Do we have a second?
Hutcherson seconds.
We have a second by Hutcherson to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yes.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. Echoing the comments from my fellow board members, thank you to you, Amy, and the entire team for working on this, and we have great confidence that this is going to yield the anticipated outcomes. The next agenda item is the Operating Engineers Local 324 Journeyman and Apprentice Training Fund, Inc. Next, we will have Rachel Backen, Senior Capital Project and Portfolio Manager, will present on a resolution to approve a cash collateral deposit agreement with collateral support from the Michigan Strategic Fund. Rachel, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am Rachel Bakken, a Senior Capital Project and Portfolio Manager on the Capital Access team. The request I have for you today is from Independent Bank to provide collateral support in the amount of $3,250,000 on a $21,250,000 construction loan with the Operating Engineers Local 324 Journeyman and Apprentice Training Fund, also known as OE 324. This loan will be used to construct a new 108,000 square foot training facility located in Howell, Michigan. OE 324 was established in 1906, and they play a critical role in Michigan's industrial infrastructure. Membership is currently at about 15,000 members, of which 11,000 are active members and 4,000 are retired, and all scattered throughout the state of Michigan. Training and recruitment have been vital for OE 324 through the years to maintain those membership numbers. Excuse me. Currently, OE 324 offers 2 apprenticeship programs at the Howell location: the Operating Engineers Apprenticeship and the Technician/Mechanic Apprenticeship. The Operating Engineers program focuses on operating equipment, heavy equipment such as bulldozers, excavators, loaders, cranes, etc. The Technician/Mechanic program focuses on the service and repair of those heavy equipment. The apprentices are required to attend hundreds of hours of training through their 4-year program. OE 324 currently has an indoor training facility as well as a large amount of land used for hands-on equipment training in Howell. The proposed loan will be to construct a new training facility next to the existing Howell building, and the union currently owns the land where the new building will be constructed. The new facility will be a 108,000 square foot building that will be essentially a large indoor sandbox. It'll have dirt floors, wash bay, and finished areas for classrooms and offices as well. The new facility will allow for hands-on training to continue all year long by using the heavy equipment inside the facility instead of having to halt equipment training through the winter months. Currently, this hands-on training is all done outside of the Howell location. The expansion of the training facility will allow OE 324 to enroll more students in the program, increase their weekly capacity, and as well as provide required training year-round. These facilities are also used for any ongoing job training from journeymen that are required to complete recertifications, new equipment training, and general practice as needed. And with that, I'd like to introduce John Osika. John is the training manager with OE 324, and he is going to tell you a little bit more about this proposed new training facility and the benefits that it's going to bring to them. John?
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, board, for your time. As Rachel said, my name is John Osika. I'm the training director for the Operating Engineers. I am a 37-year member, 7 years here at the training center, 30 years what we call out in the field working on the job. This indoor arena, additional classrooms and shop is gonna help our membership tremendously. With we're really limited with the training we can do in the months of January or December, January, February, and March, where this indoor arena will help us with that specialized training, such as GPS training, directional drill, paving, fine grading, and not only the indoor arena for our operators, but as we're going to put on a new shop, our existing shop will be turned into a lab, which will help our technicians grow in their program as well. It's something that's been needed for a long time. Like I say, we struggle through the winter months. And with this indoor arena, this will just improve our training and our safety aspects of everything all the way around. And at this time, I'd like to thank Rachel and her team for all the hard work that you put into this, and just looking forward to it continuing on. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And just to recap, this request is to provide collateral support in the amount of $3,250,000 on Independent Bank's loan to the Operating Engineers Local 324 Journeyman and Apprentice Training Fund for the construction of a new training facility to be located in Howell, Michigan. And with that, I will open this up for questions.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much, sir, for providing this overview of this opportunity. Fellow board members, are there any questions? If there are no questions, a motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Corbin moves.
We have a motion by Corbin. Do we have a second?
Leon Richardson seconds.
We have a second by Richardson. Motion by Corbin, second by Richardson to approve the collateral requests. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Treasurer Eubanks, sorry, pardon me, Mr. Hutchinson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap.
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. Thank you so much to the hardworking men and women of the Operating Engineers Local 324. And we look forward to receiving updates on this progress. And Rachel, thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you so much.
Next, we will go to Accelerate High-Tech Innovation, the Michigan Innovate Capital Fund. There are 2 votes. This is the final vote of the day. We welcome my colleague Fred Molnar, Senior Vice President of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, to present on a resolution to allocate funds for creation of the Michigan Innovate Capital Fund program, adopt the program and its corresponding guidelines, and approve delegate authority for the Michigan Strategic Fund President, the Michigan Strategic Fund Manager, and the State Treasurer. Fred, please take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, board members. Hello, this is again Fred Molnar, the Senior Vice President of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the MEDC. I'm really excited to be in front of you this morning to request the allocation of $23 million from the investment fund, excuse me, to create the new Michigan Innovate Capital Fund program. The need for early stage pre-seed capital in Michigan's high-tech startup ecosystem is real and it's immediate. This need has been documented multiple times by the MEDC's annual Voice of the Customer survey. Because the need is great, in this program, we have created 2 tracks for eligible nonprofit organizations to receive funding for pre-seed investments. The first track is for established applicants, and these are entities that have been previously funded by the MSF and are currently making pre-seed investments across the state. Because these entities are currently investing via returns from earlier investments, they have all the due diligence and support processes in place. This injection of additional capital can be immediately utilized in company investments. We anticipate approximately 20 million of the 23 million to go to the established applicants. The second track is for emerging applicants. These would be nonprofit entities which would expand the pool of pre-seed investment entities beyond the current ones, increasing opportunity across the state for early stage tech company investments. So the summary of the request is we want to create and operate the Michigan Innovate Capital Fund, the adoption of the program guidelines for the Michigan Innovate Capital Fund, allocation of $23 million from the investment fund to the Michigan Innovate Capital Fund program, and delegation of the authority of the MSF president, the MSF fund manager, and the state treasurer to act to approve Michigan Innovate Capital Fund awards in the amount of up to $5 million. With that, a high-level overview, I'd leave it open to any questions that you may have of me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fred. Board members, any questions about this agenda item?
Dan Myron, Fred, can you remind us of the reporting metrics to determine the success of the $23 million investment?
Yeah, certainly. There are reporting requirements that are legislatively mandated, and those are usually, or should say, are jobs created, follow-on funding, number of companies supported, et cetera. There's a wide range of data that we collect. It's actually the number's about 17 very specific data points that we collect.
And are those going to be reported to the board?
Yeah, they are, or they can be, certainly if you request that, but they are reported in the annual legislative report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any additional questions?
Yeah, Fred, this is Randy Thalen. I'm curious to know if there's any parameters of the 23 million breaking down between the existing partners or the established applicants and the emerging applicants. Do you have a sense of how you want to divide those resources?
Well, I can tell you what we're sensing, and that would be 20 of the 23 million would go to established applicants. And of course, that's dependent on the applicants themselves, right? And what they're requesting. But that's our estimate at this point, would be 20 million would go to established applicants, and roughly 3 million would go to emerging applicants. And again, that's it. That's as of today.
And the selection criteria on the existing entities, how will that be structured, Fred?
Yes, so there are limited pool of applicants. There's roughly 4 of them that have previously received MSF funding. Okay, and we're expecting them to apply. Of course, there's no guarantee that they will, but all those entities are still in the state of Michigan. They're still actively, so the funding that was allocated to them previously by the MSF, those were typically 5-year contracts, 5-year agreements, and then they are then taking those dollars and investing them and then getting returns, and then using those returns for follow-on investments. They have, like I mentioned earlier, they have everything in place. They have due diligence review committees, all the processes. They have mentoring, et cetera. They sit on various boards of companies. And so these would be the firms that are prepared and established and could immediately take these funds and do further investments. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
Other questions for Fred? If there are no further questions, we will conduct 2 separate votes. For the first vote, we will vote to adopt the Michigan Innovate Capital Fund, its corresponding guidelines, and the funding allocations. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Rothstein?
We have a motion by Rothstein, a second by Messer to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Myring,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion passes and the recommendation is adopted. The second vote is to approve the delegation of authority. A motion is needed to conduct a roll call vote. Do we have such a motion?
Affolter Kane moves.
We have a motion by Apple Kane, a second by Messer to approve the request. Caitlin, please conduct a roll call vote.
Dr. Fulter Kane,
Yes.
Director Corbin,
Yes.
Mr. Eklund,
Yes.
Mr. Hutcherson,
Yes.
Mr. Cap,
Yeah.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Messer,
Yes.
Mr. Meyering,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Rothstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tellier,
Yes.
Mr. Thalen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. The motion also passes and the recommendation is also adopted. The next agenda item and the last agenda item is the delegated authority report, which was included in the board's packet. Are there any questions regarding the report? Hearing none, we stand adjourned at 10:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much to our board members, members of the public, as well as all those organizations and companies presenting today. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye now.
Record.